First contact. The vast emptiness of space stretched out before Jack Harper as he maneuvered his salvage ship through the asteroid belt. 15 years of solitude had etched lines into his face, but his eyes still held a spark of curiosity that refused to die. The ship's sensors pinged, alerting him to a sizable chunk of precious ore nearby. Well, Jack muttered to himself, a grin spreading across his weathered features. Looks like today might be our lucky day, old girl. He patted the console affectionately, the ship creaking in response as if agreeing with its lone occupant. As Jack prepared to deploy the mining drones, a brilliant flash of light erupted in the distance, momentarily blinding him. He blinked rapidly, trying to clear the spots from his vision. When he could see again, his jaw dropped in astonishment. A massive ship had appeared out of nowhere, its sleek, organic design unlike anything Jack had ever encountered. It dwarfed his salvage vessel, casting an enormous shadow across the asteroid field. Jack's heart raced as he realized what he was witnessing: humanity's first contact with an alien species. "Control, this is Harper," Jack called over the comm channel, his voice trembling with excitement. "You're not going to believe this, but I've got a first contact situation out here." Static crackled over the line before a confused voice responded. "Harper, what the hell are you talking about?" "I'm sending you visual data now," Jack replied, his fingers flying over the controls. It's beautiful." As Jack transmitted the footage, the alien ship suddenly began to move. It glided effortlessly through the asteroid field, approaching Jack's position with impossible grace. He held his breath, unsure whether to flee or stay put. The decision was made for him when a beam of shimmering energy engulfed his ship. Jack felt a moment of weightlessness before everything went dark. When Jack regained consciousness, he found himself in a vast, dimly lit chamber. The walls pulsed with an ethereal bioluminescence, casting everything in a soft, otherworldly glow. He sat up slowly, his head throbbing. "Hello," he called out, his voice echoing in the cavernous space. "Anyone home?" A melodic trill answered him, and Jack spun around to face the source of the sound. His eyes widened as he took in the alien standing before him. The creature was tall and slender, with iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors with each movement. Its large, almond-shaped eyes regarded Jack with unmistakable intelligence and curiosity. The alien raised a hand in what Jack hoped was a peaceful gesture. Then, to his amazement, it spoke in perfect English. "Greetings, human. I am Zora of the Zarkai. We apologize for the abrupt nature of our meeting, but time is of the essence." Jack's mind reeled. You speak English." Zora's skin rippled in what might have been amusement. "We have been studying your species for some time. Your languages are quaint, but not difficult to master." Before Jack could respond, a piercing cry echoed through the chamber. Zora's expression shifted to one of concern, and she glided swiftly towards the source of the sound. Jack hesitated for a moment before following, his curiosity overriding his caution. They entered a smaller room, and Jack's breath caught in his throat. In the center of the room was a child, unmistakably a hybrid of human and Zarkai. The toddler's skin had a faint, pearlescent sheen, and its eyes were a striking mix of human and alien features. "What's going on here?" Jack demanded, his protective instincts kicking in despite the strangeness of the situation. Zara's voice was heavy with emotion as she replied, "This child is a result of a union between our species, a beacon of hope for a peaceful future. But there are those among both our peoples who would see this hope extinguished." The child whimpered, reaching out towards Jack with small, grasping hands. Without thinking, he stepped forward and lifted the toddler into his arms. The child immediately quieted, nuzzling against his chest. "I don't understand," Jack said, looking from the child to Zara. "Why are you telling me this? Why am I here?" Zara's eyes seemed to shimmer with an inner light. "Because, Jack Harper, you are about to become the most important human in the galaxy. The fate of both our species may rest in your hands." Before Jack could process this earth-shattering statement, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Zara's skin pulsed with rapid color changes, a clear sign of distress. "They found us," she hissed. "Jack, listen carefully. You must take the child and go. My ship will return you to yours. Protect the little one at all costs. The future depends on it." "Wait, what?" Jack protested, but Zara was already moving, her fingers dancing over a control panel. "I can't just take a kid I don't know the first thing about." His words were cut off as the same shimmering energy from before enveloped him and the child. The last thing Jack saw was Zara's intense gaze, filled with a mixture of hope and sorrow. In a blink, Jack found himself back on his salvage ship, the hybrid child still cradled in his arms. Through the viewscreen, he watched in horror as the Sci-Fi vessel erupted in a dazzling explosion, scattering debris across the asteroid field. The child stirred in his arms, looking up at him with eyes that seemed far too knowing for one so young. Jack swallowed hard, the weight of responsibility settling onto his shoulders like a physical force. "Okay, kid," he said softly, gently stroking the child's pearlescent cheek. "I guess it's you and me now. Let's hope I don't screw this up too badly." As Jack's ship limped away from the asteroid field, he knew that his life, and potentially the fate of 2 civilizations, had changed forever. The stars stretched out before him, no longer a comforting blanket of solitude, but a vast unknown filled with both wonders and dangers. With a hybrid child as his unlikely companion, Jack Harper set a course for the only place he could think of that might offer some answers: Earth. Little did he know that his journey was only beginning, and the greatest adventure of his life lay ahead. The salvage ship disappeared into the depths of space, carrying with it a fragile hope for the future and the seeds of a story that would reshape the galaxy. Unexpected parenthood. Jack Harper stared at the control panel of his salvage ship, the soft beeping of various instruments filling the silence. In his arms, the alien-human hybrid child slept peacefully, unaware of the turmoil in Jack's mind. He had been drifting in space for 3 days now, torn between his instinct to return to Earth and his fear of what might happen if he did. "What am I going to do with you, little one?" Jack murmured, gently stroking the child's iridescent hair. The toddler stirred slightly, but didn't wake. As if in response to his question, the ship's communication system crackled to life. Jack's heart raced as he recognized a signal. It was from Earth Control. "Salvage Vessel Artemis, this is Earth Control. We've detected anomalies in your trajectory. Please respond." Jack took a deep breath, glancing down at the sleeping child. He knew he couldn't hide forever, but he also couldn't shake Zara's warning about protecting the little one at all costs. "Earth Control, this is Jack Harper of the Artemis," he responded, trying to keep his voice steady. "I've encountered, well, you wouldn't believe me if I told you." There was a pause before the reply came. "Harper, we've received fragmented data from your initial transmission. Did you truly encounter an alien vessel?" Jack chuckled humorously. "That's putting it mildly. Look, I'm coming in, but I need to speak with someone in charge. This is bigger than anything we've ever faced." "Understood, Artemis. We're clearing a path for your approach. Welcome home, Harper." As Jack guided the Artemis towards Earth, the child began to stir. Large, otherworldly eyes blinked open, regarding Jack with a mixture of curiosity and trust that made his heart ache. "Hey there, kiddo," Jack said softly. "Looks like we're in for quite an adventure." The re-entry was rougher than usual, Jack's mind distracted by the precious cargo he now carried. As the ship touched down on the landing pad, he could see a flurry of activity outside: medical teams, security personnel, and what looked like a group of very serious-looking government officials. Jack scooped up the child, who clung to him tightly. "All right, little star," he whispered, using the nickname he'd given the toddler during their journey. "Let's face the music together." The moment Jack stepped out of the ship, pandemonium erupted. People were shouting, cameras were flashing, and through it all, the child buried its face in Jack's neck, overwhelmed by the chaos. A stern-faced woman in a crisp suit approached, flanked by security. "Mr. Harper, I'm Director Elaine Chen of the newly formed Extraterrestrial Contact Division. You and the child need to come with us immediately." Jack tightened his hold on the toddler. "With all due respect, Director, this child stays with me. I made a promise." Chen's eyes narrowed, but before she could respond, the child turned to face her. The hybrid's eyes glowed softly, and suddenly, an aura of calm seemed to descend over the crowded landing pad. People stopped shouting, their movements becoming more relaxed. "Fascinating," Chen breathed, her own stern demeanor softening. "Very well, Mr. Harper. You'll both be coming to a secure facility. We have much to discuss." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of debriefings, medical examinations, and tense negotiations. Jack refused to be separated from the child, whom he had started calling Nova, a name that seemed fitting for a being that bridged two worlds. Scientists marveled at Nova's unique physiology, a perfect blend of human and Zarkai DNA. They were particularly intrigued by the child's apparent empathic abilities, which seemed to grow stronger each day. Through it all, Jack found himself slipping into the role of father with surprising ease. He spent hours reading to Nova, teaching the basics of human culture, and marveling at the child's rapid development and insatiable curiosity. One evening, as Jack was tucking Nova into bed in their assigned quarters, the child spoke for the first time. "Papa," Nova said clearly, reaching out to touch Jack's face. "Safe." Jack's heart swelled with emotion. "Yes, little star," he replied, his voice thick. "You're safe with me, always." As Nova drifted off to sleep, Jack's mind wandered to the challenges that lay ahead. The governments of Earth were in an uproar over the revelation of alien life, and Nova's existence had become a point of intense debate. Some saw the child as a bridge between worlds, a symbol of hope for peaceful coexistence. Others viewed Nova as a potential threat, a Trojan horse sent to infiltrate humanity. Jack knew that his life would never be the same. He had gone from being a solitary salvage operator to the protector of perhaps the most important being in the galaxy. The weight of this responsibility was immense, but as he watched Nova sleep peacefully, he knew he wouldn't have it any other way. A soft knock at the door pulled Jack from his thoughts. He opened it to find Director Chen, her usual stern expression replaced by one of concern. "Mr. Harper, we need to talk," she said quietly. "We've detected another alien signal. It seems the Zarkai are looking for Nova." Jack's blood ran cold. He glanced back at the sleeping child, remembering Zara's warning about those who would seek to harm Nova. "What do we do?" he asked, already knowing he would do whatever it took to keep his adopted child safe. Chen's eyes hardened with determination. "We prepare. Earth needs to be ready for whatever comes next. And like it or not, you and Nova are at the center of it all." As the director left, Jack returned to Nova's bedside. He gently stroked the child's shimmering hair, marveling at how this small being had completely transformed his life and potentially the future of two species. "Don't worry, little star," he whispered. "Whatever comes, we'll face it together." Outside the window, the stars twinkled in the night sky. Somewhere out there, forces were moving, searching for the miraculous child that slept peacefully under Jack's watchful gaze. The former salvage operator turned unexpected father knew that their greatest challenges were yet to come. But for now, in this quiet moment, Jack allowed himself to feel hope. Hope for Nova's future, hope for understanding between their two species, and hope that love, even between two beings from different worlds, could be the force that changed everything. As he settled into a chair next to Nova's bed, prepared to stand guard through the night, Jack Harper realized that he had found something he never knew he was missing, a purpose greater than himself, and a love that transcended the boundaries of worlds. The hunt begins. The early morning calm was shattered by the blaring of alarms. Jack bolted awake, his heart racing as he instinctively reached for Nova. The child was already alert, eyes wide with a wisdom far beyond their years. "Papa, they're coming," Nova whispered, small hands clutching Jack's shirt. Before Jack could respond, the door burst open. Director Chen stood there, her usual composure replaced by urgency. "We need to move. Now." Jack scooped up Nova and followed Chen through a maze of corridors. The facility was in chaos, personnel rushing in all directions. Through a window, Jack caught a glimpse of the sky. It was filled with unfamiliar spacecraft, their designs sleek and predatory. "The Zarkai?" Jack asked, though he already knew the answer. Chen nodded grimly. "And they're not alone. It seems your little one has attracted the attention of more than one alien faction." They reached a hangar where a small, unmarked shuttle waited. Chen turned to Jack, her expression softening for a moment. "This shuttle is equipped with experimental stealth technology. It should keep you off their scanners, at least for a while." Jack hesitated. "What about you? The people here?" "We'll hold them off," Chen replied, her voice steely with determination. "Earth needs to know what it's up against. You need to keep Nova safe. The child might be our only hope for navigating this new reality." Nova touched Chen's hand, and for a brief moment, a look of peace washed over the director's face. "Thank you, little one," she murmured. "Now go, both of you." As the shuttle took off, cloaking engaged, Jack watched in horror as the facility they'd just left erupted in explosions. Nova whimpered, burying their face in Jack's chest. "It's okay, little star," Jack soothed, though his own heart was heavy. "We'll figure this out." For days, they drifted through space, always on the move. Jack used all his skills as a former salvage operator to keep them off the grid, scavenging supplies where he could. All the while, Nova's abilities seemed to be growing exponentially. One night, as they floated in the darkness of an asteroid field, Nova approached Jack with a serious expression. "Papa, I remember things from before." Jack knelt down to the child's level. "What kind of things, Nova?" "My mother," Nova said softly. "She's alive, and she needs our help." Jack's mind reeled. Could Zara have survived the explosion of her ship? And if so, where was she now? As he pondered this, the shuttle's sensors began to beep urgently. "Proximity alert," the computer announced. "Unknown vessel approaching." Jack rushed to the controls, ready to pilot them to safety, but Nova placed a small hand on his arm. "Wait, Papa, they're friends." Before Jack could question this, a voice crackled over the comm system, a voice that made Nova's eyes light up with recognition. "Greetings, Jack Harper and young Nova," the melodious alien voice said. "I am Kel of the Lizani. We've been searching for you." Jack tensed, ready for a fight, but Nova was already responding. "Hello, Kel. My mother told me about you. You're here to help us, aren't you?" There was a pause before Kel replied, his tone warm with approval. "Indeed, young one. Your mother's foresight continues to amaze me. Jack Harper, if you're willing, we'd like to bring you aboard. There's much to discuss." Jack looked at Nova, who nodded encouragingly. With a deep breath, he made his decision. "All right, Kel, we're coming aboard. But any funny business, and we're out of there faster than you can blink." As their shuttle was guided into the much larger Lasani ship, Jack marveled at the alien technology. It was similar to what he'd seen on Zara's ship, but somehow more advanced, more organic. They were greeted by Kale, a tall, willowy being with skin that seemed to shimmer with starlight. His eyes, deep pools of swirling cosmos, regarded them with kindness. "Welcome, friends," Kale said, bowing slightly. "We have much to discuss and little time. The forces pursuing you grow stronger by the day." As they followed Kel through the ship, Nova's hand firmly in his, Jack felt a mix of trepidation and hope. They were stepping into a larger galaxy, one filled with wonders and dangers beyond imagination. In a vast chamber that seemed to be a combination of a war room and a scientific laboratory, Kel introduced them to his crew, a diverse array of alien species, each more fantastic than the last. "The child you protect," Kale began, his gaze fixed on Nova, "is more important than you can possibly imagine. Nova is not just a bridge between two species, but a key to unlocking the potential of many. Jack listened in awe as Kel explained the complex political landscape of the galaxy. The Zarkai were but one of many species vying for power. Nova's unique genetic makeup and growing abilities represented a shift in the balance, a wild card that many sought to control or eliminate. And Zara? Jack asked, thinking of the brave Zarkai who had entrusted Nova to him. Kel's expression grew somber. She lives, but she is held captive by those who fear what Nova represents. Our mission, if you choose to accept it, is twofold: to keep Nova safe and to rescue Zara. Nova stepped forward, their small form radiating a strength that belied their years. We'll do it, we have to. For Mother, for Earth, for everyone. Jack knelt beside Nova, placing a hand on the child's shoulder. Are you sure about this, little star? It's going to be dangerous. Nova's eyes met Jack's, filled with a determination that took his breath away. I'm sure, Papa. It's why we're here. Why you found me. We can make a difference. Looking around at the assembled alien crew, at the vastness of space visible through the ship's viewing portals, and finally at the miraculous child beside him, Jack made his decision. All right, he said, standing tall. Where do we start? Kel's face broke into a smile that seemed to illuminate the entire room. We start, my friends, by teaching you the ways of the galaxy. You'll need every advantage for the challenges ahead. As the Lusani ship accelerated into the depths of space, Jack felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration. They were embarking on a journey that would take them to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, facing dangers beyond imagination. But as he looked at Nova, proudly standing among their new alien allies, Jack knew that they were exactly where they needed to be. Together, this unlikely family, a human salvage operator, a hybrid child, and a crew of alien misfits, might just have a chance at changing the course of galactic history. The hunt had begun, but they were no longer the hunted. Now, they were on a mission of their own, to save Zara, protect Nova, and perhaps bring a new era of peace to a fractured galaxy. As the stars streaked by outside, Jack allowed himself a small smile. Whatever lay ahead, he knew one thing for certain: it was going to be one hell of an adventure. Galactic diplomacy. The Lusani ship, christened Star Waver by its eclectic crew, glided through the shimmering expanse of a nebula. Inside, Jack Harper found himself in the midst of the most unusual training regimen he could have imagined. Focus, Jack, Kel's melodious voice encouraged. Feel the energy flowing through you, connecting you to the universe around us. Jack grunted with effort, sweat beading on his forehead. He was attempting to manipulate a small sphere of light between his palms, a basic exercise in energy manipulation that even the youngest Lusani could master. So far, his success had been limited. Nearby, Nova sat cross-legged, effortlessly juggling multiple spheres of light in a dazzling display. The child's progress in harnessing their abilities had been nothing short of miraculous. Don't worry, Papa, Nova chirped, sensing Jack's frustration. You'll get it. As Jack struggled with his training, he reflected on the whirlwind of the past few weeks. The Lusani had taken them on a crash course through galactic politics, alien cultures, and the basics of powers that humans had long dismissed as mere science fiction. They had learned of the Galactic Conclave, a loose alliance of spacefaring civilizations that maintained a fragile peace. Earth, isolated and technologically backward by comparison, had been blissfully unaware of its existence, until now. Jack's reverie was interrupted by the ship's communications system. Kale, Jack, Nova, came the voice of Zin, the Star Waver's pilot. We're approaching the coordinates. You might want to see this. They rushed to the bridge, where a breathtaking sight awaited them. A massive space station hung suspended against the backdrop of a binary star system. Its architecture was a blend of organic curves and crystalline structures, unlike anything Jack had ever seen. Welcome, Kel said with a hint of reverence in his voice, to Harmony Station, the seat of the Galactic Conclave. As they docked, Jack felt a mix of anticipation and trepidation. They were here to plead their case to the Conclave, to seek aid in rescuing Zara and protecting Nova from those who would exploit or harm the child. The fate of Earth's introduction to the galactic community hung in the balance. Remember, Kale cautioned as they prepared to disembark, diplomacy here is a delicate dance. Every word, every gesture carries weight. And Nova, he knelt down to the child's level. Your abilities may be our greatest asset, but use them judiciously. There are those who will fear what you represent. Nova nodded solemnly, grasping both Jack and Kel's hands. We're ready. The interior of Harmony Station was a marvel of alien architecture and technology. Representatives from dozens of species bustled about, their conversations a symphony of languages that Jack's recently implanted universal translator struggled to keep up with. They were led to a vast chamber where the Conclave's ruling council awaited them. Jack's heart raced as he took in the assembly of alien dignitaries, each more fantastical than the last. A being of pure energy, contained within a shimmering force field, spoke first. We recognize Kel of the Lizani. Who are these others you bring before us? Kel stepped forward, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. Esteemed members of the Conclave, I present Jack Harper of Earth, a planet on the brink of joining our galactic community. And with him, Nova, a child of two worlds, whose very existence may shape the future of us all. Murmurs rippled through the assembled aliens. A reptilian being leaned forward, its scales shimmering with bioluminescence. We have heard whispers of this child. Some say it is an abomination, others a miracle. Which is it, Kel? Before Kel could respond, Nova stepped forward. The child's eyes glowed softly, and a wave of calm seemed to wash over the chamber. When Nova spoke, their voice carried a wisdom far beyond their years. I am neither abomination nor miracle, Nova said clearly. I am simply a child, born of love between two species. My existence proves that we are not so different, that harmony between us is possible. The chamber fell silent, all eyes fixed on the small figure standing bravely before them. Jack felt a surge of pride, mixed with a twinge of sadness. In that moment, Nova seemed so far from the playful child he had come to love. A holographic figure flickered to life, its form constantly shifting between different species. The child speaks with wisdom, but intentions alone cannot guarantee peace. What do you seek from the Conclave? Jack stepped forward, placing a protective hand on Nova's shoulder. We seek your help. Nova's mother, Zara of the Zarkai, is being held captive by those who fear change. And Earth, my home, is unprepared for the realities of this larger galaxy. We need guidance, protection. The energy being pulsed brightly. And what do you offer in return, humans? Your world is primitive by our standards, your species barely able to leave your own solar system. Jack faltered, realizing the truth in those words. What could Earth possibly offer to these advanced civilizations? But Nova wasn't finished. The child raised a hand, and suddenly the chamber was filled with holographic images, scenes from Earth's history, its art, its music, its boundless creativity and resilience. We offer this, Nova said, that a voice strong. A new perspective. Humans may be young, but they dream big. They create, they adapt, they persevere. Given the chance, they could bring something new to our galactic family. The images faded, leaving the council in stunned silence. Finally, the shape-shifting hologram spoke. You have given us much to consider. We will deliberate on your requests. In the meantime, you will be our honored guests on Harmony Station. As they were led out of the chamber, Jack's mind was reeling. They had taken their first steps into a larger political arena, one where the stakes were higher than he could have ever imagined. Kale placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. You both did well. Now we wait. Over the next few days, they explored Harmony Station, marveling at the diversity of life and culture it contained. Nova was a constant source of wonder, bridging communication gaps with their empathic abilities and charming even the most stoic of alien diplomats. But beneath the excitement, tension simmered. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that darker forces were moving behind the scenes. His suspicions were confirmed late one night when Kel burst into their quarters, his usually calm demeanor shattered. "We need to leave now. The Zarkai extremists, they've infiltrated the station. They're coming for Nova." As alarms began to blare throughout Harmony Station, Jack scooped up a frightened Nova. "What about the Conclave, their protection?" Kel's expression was grim as he led them through hidden passages. "Politics moves slowly, my friend, but our enemies do not. We're on our own." As they raced toward the Starwaver, explosions rocking the station around them, Jack realized that their brief foray into galactic diplomacy had come to an abrupt end. They were back to being fugitives, but now with the eyes of the entire galaxy upon them. Nova clung tightly to Jack, their small voice barely a whisper. "I'm sorry, Papa. I didn't mean to cause all this trouble." Jack hugged the child fiercely as they ran. "You have nothing to be sorry for, little star. We're in this together, remember? No matter what happens, no matter where we have to go, I'll always be here for you." As they reached the Starwaver, narrowly escaping their pursuers, Jack knew that their greatest challenges still lay ahead. But looking at Nova, seeing the hope and determination in those otherworldly eyes, he felt ready to take on the entire galaxy if he had to. The hunt had taken on a new dimension. They were no longer just running or hiding. Now they had a mission: to save Zara, to protect Nova, and perhaps to change the course of galactic history. As the Starweaver blasted away from Harmony Station, leaving the glittering diplomatic hub behind, Jack allowed himself a grim smile. Galactic diplomacy might have failed them, but they had gained something far more valuable: allies, purpose, and a fighting chance. The stars stretched into streaks of light as they entered hyperspace, hurtling towards an uncertain future. But for Jack Harper, former salvage operator turned unlikely father and galactic fugitive, uncertainty had become a way of life, and he wouldn't have it any other way. Returned to Zarkai, the Starwaver emerged from hyperspace in a remote sector of the galaxy, its hull still bearing scorch marks from their narrow escape from Harmony Station. Inside, Jack, Nova, and the crew gathered around a holographic display of the distant planet, Zarkai Prime. "This is where they're holding Zara," Kel explained, his fingers dancing through the hologram to highlight a heavily fortified compound. "The heart of the extremist faction's power." Jack studied the defenses, his brow furrowed. "It looks impenetrable. How are we supposed to get in there?" Nova, who had been uncharacteristically quiet since their flight from Harmony Station, spoke up. "I can feel her, Papa. Mom's alive, but she's scared." Jack knelt beside the child, placing a comforting hand on their shoulder. "We'll get her out, little star. I promise." Zin, the Starwaver's pilot, chimed in. "I've been analyzing their defense systems. There's a small window during their solar flares where their shields weaken. If we time it right, we might be able to slip through." Kale nodded approvingly. "Good work, Zin. But even if we get planetside, we'll need a way to infiltrate Zarkai society." All eyes turned to Nova. The child straightened, a determined look in their eyes. "I can do it. I can make us look like Zarkai." Jack's protective instincts flared. "Nova, no, it's too dangerous. We can find another way." But Nova stood firm. "It's the only way, Papa. Mom needs us, and I need to understand where I came from." After much debate and careful planning, they put their daring rescue mission into action. As the Starweaver approached Zarkai Prime, skillfully navigating through the solar flares, Nova concentrated intensely. Slowly, Jack watched in amazement as his own appearance shifted, his skin taking on the iridescent quality of the Zarkai. "Remarkable," Kale breathed, examining his own transformed visage. "Your powers continue to astound, young one." They landed under cover of darkness, their ship cloaked to avoid detection. As they made their way towards the bustling capital city, Jack marveled at the alien world around them. Zarkai architecture was a blend of organic shapes and crystalline structures, everything pulsing with an inner light. Nova walked confidently, as if drawn by an invisible thread. "This way," the child whispered. "I can feel Mom's presence growing stronger." As they navigated the crowded streets, Jack couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The Zarkei they passed seemed to eye them with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. "Keep your head down," Kale murmured. "We're approaching the governmental district." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the city. A booming voice echoed from hidden speakers. "Attention citizens. Dangerous off-worlders have been detected. Report any suspicious activity immediately." Jack's heart raced. "They know we're here. Nova, we need tow." But Nova was already moving, pulling them into a narrow alleyway. The child's eyes glowed with an inner light, and the air around them shimmered. When Jack looked again, they appeared to be a group of Zarkei workers, their clothes shabby and worn. "Clever," Kale said, admiring their new disguises. "But we must hurry. Even your abilities have limits, Nova." They made their way to the fortified compound, blending in with the throngs of workers entering for their daily shifts. Jack held his breath as they passed through security checkpoints, but Nova's illusions held firm. Once inside, Nova led them unerringly through a maze of corridors. "She's close," the child whispered, excitement and fear mingling in their voice. They rounded a corner and came face to face with a group of heavily armed guards. For a heart-stopping moment, Jack thought they'd been discovered, but the guards merely nodded and stepped aside, Nova's illusion still holding strong. Finally, they reached a heavily secured door. Nova placed a small hand on the lock, and it clicked open. Inside, bathed in the glow of a stasis field, floated Zara. "Mom!" Nova cried out, the illusion flickering for a moment in their distress. Jack rushed to the control panel, his fingers flying over the alien symbols as he attempted to deactivate the stasis field. Come on, he muttered. Suddenly, the alarms blared again. A cold voice filled the room. "Intruder alert. Lockdown initiated." The stasis field flickered and died. Zora's eyes snapped open, confusion giving way to recognition as she saw Nova. "My child," she whispered, her voice weak from disuse. As Jack helped Zora to her feet, the door burst open. A squad of elite Zarkei guards poured in, led by a stern-faced official. "So," the official sneered, "the abomination returns, and with human collaborators no less." Nova stepped forward, the illusion melting away to reveal their true form. "I'm not an abomination," the child said firmly. "I'm the future." What happened next occurred so quickly that Jack could barely process it. Nova's eyes blazed with power, and a wave of energy pulsed outward. The guards stumbled, their weapons clattering to the ground as they clutched their heads. Zara straightened, her own eyes glowing with renewed strength. "My brave, beautiful child," she said, her voice filled with pride. The official, seemingly unaffected by Nova's power, reached for a weapon. But before he could fire, Kel moved with lightning speed, disarming him with a graceful twist. "We need to go now," Jack shouted, already moving towards the exit. As they ran through the corridors, alarms blaring around them, Jack marveled at how quickly their careful plan had unraveled. But looking at Nova, reunited with Zora at last, he knew it had all been worth it. They burst out of the compound, only to find themselves surrounded by a sea of confused and frightened Zarkei citizens. Nova's power had spread throughout the city, breaking through years of propaganda and fear. Zara stepped forward, her voice ringing out clear and strong. "My people, for too long we have lived in fear of the unknown. But look," she gestured to Nova. "Here is proof that we are not so different from those we call outsiders. It's time for change." To Jack's amazement, the crowd began to murmur in agreement. The tide was turning. But their victory was short-lived. The sky darkened as a massive ship descended, the extremist faction's last-ditch attempt to maintain control. As weapons charged and tensions rose to a breaking point, Jack realized that their true battle was just beginning. The fate of not just Nova and Zara, but of the entire Zarkei civilization, and perhaps the galaxy itself, hung in the balance. With Nova's hand in his and Zara at his side, Jack Harper, once a simple salvage operator, now stood at the center of a galactic conflict. Whatever came next, he knew one thing for certain: their family, as unconventional as it was, would face it together. The final confrontation loomed, and the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath in anticipation. Humanity's stand. The massive ship loomed over the city, its weapons primed and ready to fire. Jack instinctively pulled Nova close, his mind racing for a solution. Zara stood tall beside them, her eyes fixed on the ship above. "It's the Purifier," she said, her voice tight with tension. "The ultimate weapon of the extremist faction. They would rather destroy everything than allow change." Kale's voice crackled over their comm units. "The Starweaver is on its way, but we can't outgun that monstrosity. We need another plan." Nova looked up at Jack, then at Zara, determination shining in their eyes. "I have an idea, but I'll need both of you, and everyone else too." Before Jack could ask what the child meant, Nova stepped forward, addressing the crowd of Zarkai citizens. "People of Zarkai, hear me. We don't have to fight. We don't have to destroy. There's another way, a way of understanding, of unity." As Nova spoke, a soft glow began to emanate from the child's body. Jack felt a warmth spreading through him, and judging by the gasps from the crowd, he wasn't alone. "Nova," Zara whispered, realization dawning on her face. "You're creating a psychic link, but on this scale, it's unprecedented." The glow intensified, spreading out in waves. Jack watched in awe as it washed over the Zarkai, over Kale and the Lasani crew, even seeming to reach up towards the looming ship above. Suddenly, Jack's mind was flooded with a torrent of images, emotions, and memories. He saw glimpses of Zarkai history, felt the fear and pride that had driven them to isolation. He experienced the wonder of Lasani exploration, the pain of wars long past, and the hope for a peaceful future. And through it all, he felt Nova, a beacon of love, acceptance, and possibility. The crowd gasped in unison as they too experienced the link. Enemies who had been at each other's throats moments ago now looked at one another with newfound understanding. Even the crew of the Purifier wasn't immune. Through the link, Jack could sense their confusion, their deeply ingrained fears beginning to crumble in the face of this shared consciousness. Nova's voice, amplified by the psychic link, resonated through everyone's minds. "We are all connected. Our fears, our hopes, our dreams, they're not so different. We can choose a new path together." The weapons on the Purifier powered down. Slowly, the massive ship began to descend, no longer a threat but a potential ally. As the psychic link faded, Jack blinked, coming back to himself. The plaza was filled with Zarkai embracing one another, many with tears in their eyes. Former extremists laid down their weapons, overcome by the experience they had just shared. Zara knelt beside Nova, who looked exhausted but triumphant. "You've done it, my child. You've brought peace in a way I never thought possible." Jack joined them, his heart swelling with pride and love. "That's our little star," he said softly, ruffling Nova's hair. Kale approached, accompanied by a group of Zarkai officials who looked both awed and humbled. "It seems," Kale said with a smile, "that we have much to discuss about the future of Zarkai and its place in the galactic community." In the days that followed, change swept across Zarkai Prime. The extremist faction dissolved, its members working to undo the damage they had caused. Nova's ability to create understanding became the cornerstone of a new era of Zarkai diplomacy. Word of what had transpired spread quickly across the galaxy. The Galactic Conclave, impressed by the peaceful resolution and the potential Nova represented, extended an invitation for both Zarkai and Earth to join as full members. As for Jack, Zara, and Nova, they found themselves at the center of it all, a most unusual family unit bridging worlds and species. One evening, as they stood on a balcony overlooking the glittering Zarkai capital, Zara turned to Jack. "What now, Jack Harper? You've gone from salvage operator to galactic peacemaker. Surely Earth must seem small in comparison. Jack chuckled, watching Nova animatedly describe Earth customs to a group of fascinated Zarkai children nearby. Earth will always be home, he said. But home isn't just a place, is it? It's the people you love. Zara's hand found his, their fingers intertwining. Indeed it is. Nova bounded over to them, eyes shining with excitement. Papa, Mom, the Lizani say we can use the Star Weaver to visit Earth. Can we go, please? Jack grinned, scooping Nova up into his arms. I think that's a fantastic idea, little star. It's about time Earth officially met its first alien ambassadors. As they made plans for their journey, Jack marveled at the twists and turns his life had taken. From a lonely salvage operator to the adoptive father of the galaxy's most important child, to a key figure in a new era of interstellar cooperation. The stars stretched out before them, no longer a vast, empty expanse, but a galaxy full of possibility. And as Jack stood there with his unconventional family, human, Zarkai, and the miraculous bridge between them, he knew that their greatest adventures were still to come. For in the end, it wasn't advanced technology or military might that had changed the course of galactic history. It was understanding, empathy, and love, the very best of what humanity, and indeed all sentient beings, had to offer. As Nova chittered excitedly about introducing their Earth grandparents to Zarkai cuisine, Jack Harper smiled. The future was bright, and they would face it together, one small, extraordinary family at a time. The end.